Hey guys, I want to come on here and talk about this case because there was a attack on an interracial couple in Arizona, and lately we've been seeing a lot of those attacks. I've actually covered some of them, whether it was the attack in a bar in Charlottesville, which I covered, or the white supremacist male who went stabbing random black people in a so-called attempt to stop interracial dating. There's been a number of them throughout this country. You guys know that I cover the swirling situation, that I speak adamantly out against swirling, not because I really care about who black people choose to date. Again, if we didn't live in a system of white supremacy, I wouldn't care who chose to date who, because there would be no need. There wouldn't be an oppressor class. There wouldn't be a group within the dominant society who historically and presently have been continuously trying to murder and destroy black people in any way possible. I think what black people don't understand, though, is because in a system of white supremacy, black people don't really care whether white people want to feel supreme. We don't care one thing about that. But I think what black people need to understand is that as a part of white supremacy, that is being able to harm you, okay, for whatever they deem is a reason. They want to harm you. So seeing you having access to things that they're able to get, although you're in a system of white supremacy and they have these privileges, meaning they don't have to worry about certain things that you have to worry about based on your skin tone, that's not enough for them. They want to see you suffer. Now, understand that there is an ongoing and consistent interracial agenda, okay? It's all over the news globally. I actually just saw a glasses commercial for some eyewear, and that was an interracial couple, black man, white woman. So the thing that black people don't do is black people don't think ahead. You know, I read an excerpt from some speech from the South African president where they said black people lack foresight. Now, black people actually do lack foresight, because the thing of it is black people have this mindset of thinking that somehow interracial dating is breeding out whiteness, when in reality it isn't. The only thing that interracial dating is doing is breeding out blackness, okay? Now, if you guys look on your screen, you're seeing right now, what you see is some tweets. And Phil from Advice Show, he tweeted this article, trying to give this warning to black men in response to all of the attacks on interracial people, because the mainstream white population are never made privy to the workings and the plans and the agenda of the white elites, okay? Their population, we've seen numerous reports that according to them, their population is declining. More of them are dying than being born. They said only, like over the past year, I think they recorded and said only 5,000 white babies were born, okay? So globally, they're declining. Now, if you look over history, you will see that it has been a historical fact that Europeans have whitened out population by way of interracial sex. If you look at the statistics, we know that most biracial people marry and procreate with other white people. They do that. Does not, the product of that is not a black person, it's a white person. So when you think about the powerful elite, they're known, and that's the only way they could really maintain the system. They're known for thinking hundreds of years into the future, okay? So if you're them and you know that right now and for the past few years, your birth rate has been declining, and you know that statistically and in reality, most biracial people procreate with other white people and create other white people, you would think that this is an effective means of staying alive if you think about the fact that it only takes 3 generations to wipe out black DNA. Okay, 3 generations. You will see that, and that has been documented all over history. But you have black men who engage on social media with the rhetoric of interracial dating is somehow breeding out whiteness when it's not. The one thing that I know about white people is that they're not going to promote their genocide. Now, some people can say, oh, the Zionist Jew media, which we already know Jews are European. Jews are not, Jew is not a race, it's a religion. Now, they'll say, oh, they're running the media and they're pushing this agenda to cause white genocide. No, they're not. And anybody who actually did the research, had the brain power to actually stop and do the research, they would find that interracial dating, number one, isn't breeding out whiteness. And number two, you would see that white people are not going to advertise anything that's going to cause their genocide. If interracial dating was actually causing their genocide, they would simply bring back anti-miscegenation laws. We are 50 years removed from Jim Crow, where if black men looked at a white woman, he would get strung up from a tree. The reality is black men are being murdered today without consequence. So what makes you think that if they can murder you today with no consequence and you can't stop them, that if interracial dating was actually causing their genocide, they wouldn't simply bring back anti-miscegenation laws and kill you if you looked at a white woman? That's just a reality. Because either way, even when there was anti-miscegenation laws, they still had access to black women. So simply making anti-miscegenation laws wouldn't remove their access to black women, but it would remove black men's access to white women if they really believed that they were breeding them out. And they already know that they're not. They know that they're using it to breed you out. Again, they think about hundreds of years in the future. Black people restrict their thinking as it applies to interracial dating. They think that, oh, if a black man has sex with a white woman and they create a child, then that'll be a biracial kid that'll be considered black. So therefore, they're breeding out whiteness. They're not thinking about what that child is going to do when they get older and they get of years of procreation. They're not thinking about the fact that those biracial people then go off, marry and procreate with other people and white people and create other white people. So this interracial agenda is being spread for a reason. But again, I want to go back to this article. It says an interracial couple was walking near a Phoenix park when authorities say a shirtless neo-Nazi began angrily yelling a racial slur and harassing the black man in the couple over dating a white woman. Authorities say the men exchanged tense words before Travis Reese rushed back to a home where other white supremacists were partying, grabbed a shotgun, and returned in a sedan driven by an associate. Reese leaned out the car and fired 2 buckshot blasts, missing the black man, the intended target, and killing his girlfriend, investigators said. Lawyers are now picking a jury to decide whether Reese should be convicted of murder and sentenced to death in the 2009 attack, which prosecutors say was a hate crime. If you're looking for an easy and convenient way to find new and used vehicles in your area, go to carmarshal.com, where they have an inventory of over 100,000 new and used vehicles. You shop and they'll negotiate at carmarshal.com. Click the link in the description box to start looking for your new car today. Opening statements are tentatively scheduled for June 6th. The case has offered several unexpected turns. Reese, whose defense is expected to include an argument that he's not the man he used to be, claims his great-grandfather was a member of the French resistance killed by Nazis during World War II. They always have some kind of, this isn't really how I am, something came over me excuse. They always have one of those. Authorities are seeking the death penalty, saying 39-year-old Kellyanne Yeager's killing was meant to further the interest of the Bilander Social Club, a neo-Nazi group with a reputation for violence that was later targeted in law enforcement crackdown. Since prosecutors have called the attack a hate crime, they can seek as many as 11 additional years in prison above the maximum penalty. If Reese is convicted of other charges such as attempted murder, drive-by shooting, aggravated assault, and assisting a criminal gang. But they won't tack all those charges onto him. That's just the reality of what it is, because we already know that according to data, white people are undercharged regardless to what they do. Just like in another story of the white supremacists that attacked the man at the Charlottesville rally, he wasn't charged with attempted murder. He was charged with a malicious assault. Even though his tactics, if you look at what he actually did, clearly that would have been seen as an attempted murder. Black people have done less and have been charged with attempted murder. So just because they ramble off all of these things doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to charge him with that. You can almost guarantee they won't. But back to the article. Reese pleaded not guilty, and his lawyers have raised questions about the ability of Yeager's boyfriend, Jeffrey Wellmaker, to identify him as the triggerman. They note that nearly 2 years after the attack, Wellmaker was jailed in an unrelated case and played chess with Reese behind bars without recognizing him. I'm not even good. I'm not going to go into the pathology of this black man. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Aaron Levi Schmitz, who authorities say was driving the car used in the shooting, pleaded guilty to murder in Yeager's death. He is already serving 11 years for assisting a criminal gang. It's unclear if he's been sentenced on the murder conviction. Lawyers for Reese and Schmidt, both now 36, have said their clients weren't members of the Villanders. Police reports say Reese told associates before the attack that he saw black man hitting a white woman, though it's unclear if that claim was accurate. Again, they always have, this should be suspected for them to say something. Let's just blame it on the big black threatening black man is always going to be an excuse. But again, I feel like swirling black men put themselves in this position. They put themselves in these situations. That's just the reality. There's a reason why this interracial agenda is being marketed mostly to black men, because understand, commercials and ads, those are marketing strategies. It's just whatever outcome you want, you market it. And there's something called a target market, meaning you're going to pick a specific demographic that's most acceptable and most likely to fall prey to your agenda or respond to your agenda, and that's who you market it to. And that's why interracial dating, by and large, is being marketed in terms of black men with white women, because they're the historical context that says they're the ones mostly interested in this interracial dating. You can actually look at the interracial dating statistics, and they will correspond with that too, because black men are the most likely of black people to interracial date. And in fact, the climb in interracial dating has been solely based on black men and white women. That's just the reality of where it's at. If you guys don't like it, don't get mad at me, get mad at the black men who are actually doing it, because they're the ones who are actually doing it. And under the guise that they're so-called breeding out whiteness, you're not doing that. You really think that these people are smart enough to have an elaborate system that's been maintained for hundreds of years, that you helped them to maintain, despite the fact that it's to your disenfranchisement, but they would actually allow you to engage in any behavior that's going to breed them out? Like, that mentality and that line of thinking for black people is why we're still in the system of white supremacy. They're much smarter than you give them credit for. And even if you said they weren't smart, you know they're smart enough to try to find ways to sustain themselves. So the reality of it is they're not going to allow black people to do anything to cause genocide for their community. They're promoting interracial dating because it's beneficial to them. The minute that it ceased to be beneficial to them, they will simply change the law, like they did to allow you to date white people. They will change that law to remove that privilege from you. And it shouldn't even be seen as a privilege, but it is a privilege to black people. But the reality of it is if you can't stop them from murdering you, if you can't give them a consequence for murdering you for no reason, you certainly cannot stop them from murdering you for interracial dating, if that was what they chose to do. And we know that you can't, because we know there's a 100-year period where they were doing it and nobody's still being charged, although we're simply 49 years removed from it. So a lot of these people are still around who are watching those lynchings. You can't hold them accountable because you have no power to do that. So what makes you think that you actually have the power to breed them out and think that they would allow you to do that? Either that, or you must think that they're too dumb to notice, and they're not dumb. They're definitely not dumb. They're aware of their declining birth rate. They're aware of the 60% decline in sperm, because you need sperm to procreate. So once they got that 60% decline in sperm, they got to find some other way to procreate. That's just the reality. And the way to do that is to continue to promote interracial dating. They wouldn't be doing it if it didn't pose a benefit to them. But when you're dealing with the psychology that a lot of black people have, the reality of it is of course they're going to spin it whatever way they have to justify them doing it. That's why nothing in society has changed. Again, I wouldn't care who they chose to date. There's a numerous different races that Black people can date, but I think it says something that they choose to date within the dominant society, and that happens to be the group of people who have been historically and presently disenfranchising them. And then you have cases like this where you just have them, white supremacists, running amok because, again, mainstream white people are not being made aware of why they're promoting interracial dating because, again, maybe the elites feel like they're not important enough to be clued in. But the reality of it is the people in control are promoting interracial dating, and they're not doing it because it's causing white genocide. To even think that they would do it because it's causing white genocide is lunacy, and it really validates the low IQ that they say that Black people have. Like, to even let that creep into your mind and to not even be able to think on a basic level of would they promote something that's causing their genocide, that's astounding to me. It doesn't make sense how we're not even able to use that bit of logic to understand what's going on. I don't even see how the mainstream people within the dominant society, how are they not to think about that? Now, they can sit up here and say Jews are doing it, but the reality of it is their data, according to their data, says the Jews are white just like them. So why would any white person, whether it's a white person that practices Judaism or Christianity, I don't really care about their religious affiliation, and I don't care about their political bipartisan affiliation. So why would any white person, either Republican or Democrat, Jew or Christian, foreign or domestic, why would they promote their genocide? If it was really causing their genocide, why would they promote that? That makes no sense. But you guys let me know what you think. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next one.